After months of rumors and leaks, it seems that discussions surrounding Uncharted's future are ramping up again. Uncharted 4 was, to mine and basically everyone else's understanding, the end of the Uncharted franchise. I mean, it was called The Thief's End, what else would you expect? Well, you wouldn't expect Naughty Dog to release a smaller title taking place directly after Uncharted 4 just a year later. And with the title of Lost Legacy. The title itself prompts many questions. Whose legacy are we talking about here? Why is it lost? Is it Nadeens' legacy being the political discussion that ultimately eclipsed her role in Uncharted 4? Was it Chloe's absence in Uncharted 4? Is said Lost Legacy one that Naughty Dog intends to show us this time around, filling in the gaps left behind from Uncharted 4? Lost Legacy provides what every entry in the Uncharted franchise has to this point, much the same with minor improvements that often go a long way. But what Lost Legacy provides more than anything else is a glimpse into the future of the franchise, assuming that it isn't rebooted and remade 3 times in the next decade. But let's ignore the prospect of this entire storyline being rendered irrelevant and instead look at what we have right now. Lost Legacy is a spin-off of Uncharted 4, and one that comes at a reduced price too. There was some controversy surrounding the price point, one that would be repeated with Miles Morales, and my opinion is that I like the idea. Having a smaller game at a cheaper price but keeping the AAA flair is something we don't see often, and I think a short and sweet experience is needed more and more when it seems every AAA title is an overambitious RPG. Most important in Lost Legacy's case is that while it is shorter than Uncharted 4, it does not feel like a spin-off. It offers very little in the way of an epilogue for Nate and friends, but most loose ends are tied up here, and avenues for future entries are paved. Lost Legacy in many ways is a direct response to the success and failures of Uncharted 4. Anything that was praised is doubled, and what was criticized is redeemed or cut out. While any proper sequel should strive to do this, Lost Legacy makes a point of not only changing what didn't work, but calling attention to it. Nadine was loved by many, but hated by many too, and her name carries baggage that almost certainly leads to discussion surrounded in heat from both sides. When Chloe explains during a drive that she chose to work with Nadine because of her reputation, I can't help but assume that this sentence carries a meaning beyond the fourth wall. Other aspects that some players had issues with in Uncharted 4, like the abundance of crate pushing, is near immediately shut down, with a straightforward line saying that we won't be doing that anymore. Personally, while I heavily enjoyed Uncharted 4, I found its color palette to be at times a bit too muddy, which feels like mere shades of brown when compared to the added vibrance presented here. Even the first glance we get showcases the back alleys through lamplights and neon that justify the new photo ops that appear throughout the game. These photos, which can be viewed through Chloe's phone, do feel as though the game is encouraging us to appreciate the beautiful environments, which takes away some of the wonder. A game doing something well is not as impressive in my eyes if it feels the game is always pointing it out, saying, "Hey, look here, isn't this cool?" I'm admittedly reading too far into this, and an argument can be made that said showboating is earned, because Lost Legacy is the best the series has looked. This isn't achieved by overhauling the technical side, at least I don't think. Chloe shares many animations with Nathan, and plenty things like movement and shooting are the same as Uncharted 4, but it's in the way those technical feats are presented. Wide open vistas are now just as common as the shallow lit caves. It's also shocking to me how good the water looks in this game. This is all being captured on the PS5 using the Legacy of Thieves collection, which I'd recommend you pick up if you can. Much like its older brother, the cutscenes here, and specifically the facial expressions, are immaculate and well shot. Subtle emotions are easily noticeable on characters' faces, and vocal performances are up to Naughty Dog's standards, which are at this point state of the art. New voices like Asav deliver in spades as his burly exterior is near perfectly subdued by a subtle and gentle delivery.
What a pleasant surprise.
If this is the future of Uncharted, gorgeous cutscenes, colorful palettes, and a AAA budget regardless of our cast, our future is already looking bright. But presentation has always been a strong suit for Uncharted, and its gameplay, in fairness, is still on the simple side. Innovation is slim, but as boring as it sounds to say, it still works. Set pieces are still as predictable as ever, and the gunplay is archaic as ever, but the additions to exploration and stealth brought with Uncharted 4 allow the gameplay to be more varied and fresh. Combat on the whole is the same, but there are a few more instances of hand-to-hand combat where countering is swapped out for dodging. I don't mind this change, but it means that in the middle of a tight rooftop brawl, you'll be diving across the floor into a roll. Otherwise, these things pick up right where they left off, but the greater density of turrets and silenced pistols round out the gameplay in a great way. I have always respected the way Uncharted approaches stealth. It was not until Uncharted 4 a means of thinning numbers to make the gunfights easier, never the intended solution to the problem. In Uncharted 4 and now Lost Legacy, a majority of the encounters can be finished in stealth and with forgiving detection speeds. Not only does this add more variety to the game, but considering how I've been marathoning the games lately, I can't help but appreciate a new way to take down patrols. The silenced pistol is scarce enough to make each shot worthy of of consideration, but not so scarce as to never use them. Certain enemies can't be killed in one shot either, so you have to try and take down the armored foes by hand, and the weaker ones that might be farther away can eat a bullet. It adds more strategy to a still shallow system. Nadine will, like previous companions, point out obstacles or enemies, but will also take a few down with you. And it's still amazing that if their AI decides to wave at the enemy mid-stealth, you aren't caught because of it. The stealth here lacks the flair that comes from hiding bodies, luring enemies with rocks, and hiding spots outside of tall grass, but it was still fun for a majority of my playthrough. When you are going in loud, you'll experience the usual Uncharted set pieces that never fail to entertain. Being chased by an APC has more depth now as the rope swing is implemented and verticality plays a greater role. Climbing up the falling tower was one of my favorites, and the opening chase from the beginning of the game emphasizes a small quality of life change that goes a long way for realism: speed. In previous entries, Nate and friends would move through falling trains with the same speed they would carry through a morning jog. But in Lost Legacy, when things go south, Chloe and Nadine haul ass, which gives the action elevated adrenaline. The greatest expansion in Lost Legacy's gameplay is, well, expansion. This is a glimpse into the future of Uncharted's gameplay. One not with an open world, but a series of small sandboxes for you to roll around in. Naughty Dog dipped their toes into this idea in Uncharted 4, and its return and expansion bodes well for Lost Legacy. They even further your reasons for exploring. Treasures, a staple up to this point, have never been desirable, but their rewards are. This could be due to a lack of item descriptions as you just fiddle with models, but the reward was always the skins and the game effects that said treasures granted, which return in full force. My thoughts on these are unchanged, but I appreciate that Chloe, since her outfit doesn't change much, is given 2 more alternate outfits inspired by both pirates and westerns. I wish Uncharted 4 did this more, and again, they have shown that there is no shortage of ideas. Take a look at the multiplayer. To add on to this reward is a treasure radar. The ruby bracelet will glow and make a rather irritating sound when close to treasures. It's a simple change but goes a long way for encouraging exploration. I can't expect the player to peek around every corner to find goodies, but we can expect that of a player that knows something is nearby. I no longer have to fight the constant battle between, well, there might be something behind that bush, but the last 10 bushes have had nothing, and this is already such an open space, I don't want to waste my time. Now, I can know when I should be paying closer attention, and maybe this is just my own boredom and lack of curiosity manifesting, but this change is an appreciated one, and kept the pace up too. You find this item by collecting 11 tokens scattered across the Western Ghats. This is the first genuine side quest we've seen in Uncharted, and it is like playing a new game. You had markers on the map that highlighted tokens locked behind puzzles, combat, or simply traversal. Some of the puzzles presented inside caves were challenging and, like Uncharted 4, the best in the series. Gameplay itself is puzzle-like too, as you still need to find the correct way to approach even the simplest of tasks for often little reason. An even simpler task is protecting yourself online from nasty hackers, which is foolproof through NordVPN. Did you know that when you surf the web without a VPN, you're browsing without any protection? That's like me jumping into an open battlefield without a bulletproof vest, driving a car without insurance, going to your mom's house without a... NordVPN has advised me to not finish that joke. Anywho, NordVPN creates a virtual private network that your connection runs through, which essentially scrambles and encrypts your data to prevent nasty hackers from obtaining things like your location, IP address, and other precious details that could lead to your connection being unstable, throttled, or outright taken down. You can now use that public Wi-Fi in peace, knowing that people aren't spying on what you type into the search bar. But this is not all that Nord is good for. They also have real-time threat protection to alert you of potential phishing scams, viruses, or other unwanted files that might be coming through your emails and other messaging services. What better way to keep your password safe than by also trying NordPass, a password manager that will generate and remember your password so you don't have to. If any of this sounds enticing, then you can get a 2-year plan and 4 months free by clicking the link in the description and pinned comment, or by using code ThatBoyAqua at the checkout. That's ThatBoyAqua at the checkout, or click the link in the description and pinned comment to get 2 years with an extra 4 months absolutely free. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. There are still some issues regarding the theme of Uncharted breaking when you don't do exactly what it wants. When descending a tower, I had assumed I could use my rope to rappel down and either swing to another rope or land on a platform well within my reach. The intended solution was to walk down a specified staircase, to then jump to the anchor point, which ended up being higher and farther away than where I was swinging from before. Moments of frustration like this are uncommon, but it flies in the face of what was otherwise Uncharted attempting to be more open-ended, a decision that breathes a new life into the series. The classic Uncharted formula is still here, and in fact, some highlights from previous games are directly expanded upon. Everyone loves the train sequence from Uncharted 2, and Lost Legacy decides to give it another try. I wish I could say it adds enough to the mix to make it better or worse, but it feels like a retread in memory. The incorporations of rope swinging and vehicles chasing the train to shoot you gives the sequence a greater scope, but it doesn't feel fresh, just different. I don't think this is indicative of Naughty Dog running out of ideas, rather they just felt like revisiting the moment the series is arguably known for. I had wished there was more combat on the train, especially ones where we have to traverse both the inside and outside to advance, but it was mostly shooting at enemies on bikes. It's during this segment that I remembered I need to tell you all that I, for some reason, can't get my baby hands to use the DualSense 5, and that the controls feel tight and accurate, but they won't fix my aim. Back to the train, I think it would have been interesting to have a minigun mounted on one of the cars, and we have to jump around or swing around the outside of the cart to then end the swing back inside behind the gunner. Moments like these are passed up for the equally visceral addition of jumping from the train to a car and back, which are still enjoyable to me. Lost Legacy's memorable moments come from what it does new. For example, near the end of the game, there is a boss fight against Orca who has piloted a helicopter. You begin the encounter by moving through the rubbled shacks and tall grass, but as you take down enough enemies, Orca's helicopter circles the area and must be taken down using explosives found in different chests. After you fire a rocket, you can go undercover and re-enter stealth, taking down reinforcements on your way to the next chest. It's in its final phase that you can use the rope to climb up to the helicopter and take it down, which was one of my favorite moments in the game. But when it comes to the new and memorable, Lost Legacy found its identity in the Western Ghats. Having an open area to explore and drive around in is a great idea and works surprisingly well for Uncharted. There are some things missing, like a sprint button, something that brought its contemporaries praise, but the companions reduce tedium. Nadine can help in combat and stealth and drive the car to you if you venture off on foot. If Uncharted's future was an open world game, I don't know for how long it could continue to grasp its linearity. The open area does not always feel open. Rather, it acts as a web with 15 different linear paths that all branch out from the large tower that oversees it. I don't think this idea is bad, and I think it's the best balance to strike between linear and non-linear, but the game feels like standard Uncharted up until Chapter 4, evolves into a grand open adventure, and then shrinks back down by Chapter 5. Perhaps a better balance would be to have a general hub with weapons and treasures like this area is, and then each chapter could be a path that branches off. But importantly, by the end of the chapter, you could return back to the hub. In its current state, it's a hub you pass through, though don't let these thoughts convince you that it's bad. The final boss fight against the Sav shows that Uncharted has learned that its boss fights work better when cinematics are prioritized over mechanics. If you disagree, look no further than Lazarevich and Navarro. A mechanically deep fight and a final test of skill can work, as is the case with Orca's helicopter, but if Naughty Dog can't come up with a good idea for a final boss, executing it in a glorified QuickTime event works well. So long as a penultimate fight is a true challenge and renders the following fight a victory lap, it can continue into Uncharted's future. Another change that Lost Legacy makes is that, on top of ditching the supernatural elements of the first 3 games, does not focus on the journey of a prior explorer, and instead explores the mythology of the region. Instead of following the footsteps of an ancient adventurer, we are discovering the history of the location and the stories associated with them. It still feels like Uncharted, and its result isn't anything too different from past games, but if expanded upon more, it could yield better stories. Regardless, the story here feels similar to Uncharted 4, all the way down to having a 2-on-1 fight that you lose in the beginning but win by the end. I think Asav is a much better villain than Nadine and Wraith. In both cases, the villains were underdeveloped, and especially in Nadine's case, she lacked a ton of threat because of her compass. She was always, up until the end, under the command of Wraith's wealth. In many scenes, she comes across like an annoyed parent whose child won't stop throwing tantrums. The other issue is that Nadine and Wraith pose physical threats, but to no one other than Drake. If Drake wanted to, he could just let them get the treasure. Asav, on the other hand, is a hunk who poses a severe physical threat and an ideological threat. If he gets the tusk, it's not like he's going to simply add it to his collection, or sell it and live it up big in Dubai. He's going to start a civil war. It further helps that his gentle, unassuming exterior is contrasted by his actions that see him immediately going for the kill to anyone who opposes him, and his radical means of reforming. He is ultimately just another Uncharted villain, but for a smaller story like this, and one that is clearly focused more on its protagonists, I can appreciate that. Said protagonists are treated well and are done better than their previous installments. Chloe didn't have much to add other than intoxicating charisma in her appearances, and Nadine was at best another lame villain and at worst detestable. Lost Legacy, when examining these characters, feels like an addendum to Uncharted 4, where they rework and redeem previous characters. Chloe is given a proper backstory and her moral compass is defined. She's a thief and a liar, yes, but she's not evil. She reflects the player in that while we enjoy mowing down the goons in front of us and destroying hundreds of acres of preserved land in the process, when it's revealed that a bomb is going to go off in the city we started the game at, Chloe and the player think of the same thing. The charming little girl from the intro, just trying to get by. She, much like any morally questionable hero, has a soft spot for the little guy. Nadine, on the other hand, begins the game with the same attitude that she held in Uncharted 4. The straight-laced demeanor and permanent scowl slowly crumbles away as she and Chloe bond. They begin cracking jokes with one another, gossiping about the Drake brothers, and it's good to see this other side of Nadine. I think the reason Nadine doesn't fully redeem herself here is because she is the side character, and her personality is always overpowered by Chloe, whose screen presence is as strong as ever. As the plot goes on, it's revealed that Asav's expert that Chloe knows about is Samuel Drake, which angers Nadine because she never told her. In the moment where the two are split up again, we get whiplash from being brought from the height of their friendship and chemistry to where the game started, square one. Even if this game has flaws, the fact it made me miss a character I initially didn't enjoy is worthy of praise. Once Sam is properly reintroduced, it highlights a strength about not just Lost Legacy, but the Uncharted series as a whole, which is that its identity is not directly tied to Nathan Drake. Nadine and Chloe still carry the Uncharted identity, especially in the way Chloe cracks jokes in the face of certain death, but the exploration, banter, and combat are all so Uncharted that I can't help but feel that if Nathan Drake were to stay retired, it would almost be for the best. And this game is proof of that. I theorized in my Uncharted 4 video that if Naughty Dog wanted to continue the series, they could do so with Sam and Sully on an adventure, but now I believe this could expand even further. Now I think we could easily have a game with Sam and Chloe, perhaps even a new character that Sam meets. If we want to stay in the family, we can have Nate's daughter Cassie begin her own adventures as an adult, initially hiding it from her parents. Potentially halfway through the game, a now older Drake can show concern and disappointment that his lust for adventure is threatening to take his daughter's life, like the many times it almost took his. This could lead Nate to questioning why he was comfortable doing it himself, but not with others. Maybe it's because he's not confident that his ungodly luck was passed on to Cassie, but it could resolve with Nate offering help. He's of course too old for this, so maybe he becomes the new Sully, the wisecracking veteran that drives the boats and flies the planes. Elena might be harder to convince, but if anyone is capable of being caught in the same competitive snare of beating someone else to a treasure, it's Nate. I may be straying too far from the point, which is that the Uncharted series does not need a reboot to continue, nor does it even need Nathan. Uncharted has a wide cast of intriguing characters, all capable of carrying their own products. It's clear that as far as gameplay goes, there's more that can be innovated upon, and further expansion can occur. A new game could present an even larger world, one that still carries secret caves and high-octane set pieces, similar to what Rise of the Tomb Raider achieved. There are a near infinite amount of myths to explore, locales to visit, and stories to tell, and Uncharted's future is bright, so long as it lets Nathan Drake rest. I can understand wanting another Uncharted game, or wanting a new adventure, or wanting to see more of your favorite character, but it should be remembered that with each new entry, there is a risk of failure, and creating a permanent scratch on the polished reputation of these games. I know Naughty Dog has a solid track record, but even look at games like The Last of Us Part 2. Some hate that game so much that they believe it ruins the legacy of the first. Better yet, think about Assassin's Creed. As the games have evolved, they've sacrificed an identity, a loyal fan base, and unique mechanics in pursuit of a broader appeal. The Uncharted legacy can't change if it's left finished, and the older games, specifically the Nathan Drake games, are not going away. If Uncharted wants to move in a new direction, it should do so with a new character that signifies said shift. Rebooting the series just feels unnecessary, and honestly, the fact it's rumored to be developed by a different studio just feels like Sony cashing in on the brand name. If these rumors are true, I'm not hopeful for the future of the franchise. I'll be viewing any new release as a studio taking a polished relic in Naughty Dog and Sony's history and stealing it for monetary exploitation. But you know what they say, no honor among thieves. Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video, I greatly appreciate it, and I want to give a shout out to our YouTube members and Patreon supporters. You guys help keep the channel afloat, and I cannot thank you enough. The next video will be on a Spider-Man game. I don't know how long it'll be until that video comes out. I'm still working on the script as I'm recording this. And other than that, things are just going to be moving on like normal. Hope you don't mind a shorter video. I just didn't have a ton to say about Lost Legacy, but I figured if I also mix in a discussion around the future of Uncharted, it would make for one, a more engaging video, and two, just one where I had more to say. I've kind of been thinking about streaming again, because I kind of want to interact with the community more. I feel like I've been quite distant over the last year. So let me know if you think you'd be interested in that or not. What I'd probably do is just do it on the second channel and maybe upload a few highlights here and there. I don't really want to take away from the main video making process, but I think that's why streaming's perfect. It's because like while I'm getting footage for a game, I can stream, and then that way it doesn't take away from any video making time. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter for more updates, and you can take care of yourselves. I love you guys. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.